So here to talk to us more about how inflation is impacting your wallet, here's Brandon Arnold, Executive Vice President at the National Taxpayers Union. Brandon, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Okay, so inflation, pretty good from a market perspective. Year over year, down a bit. Month over month, 0% in terms of price increases. To start off, give us your thoughts as to whether this is good news or not.
Yeah, the markets seem to be happy, but I think if you look back just to a year ago, inflation is pretty much flat. It dropped considerably in June of 2023. And it dropped to about 3.2% year over year. And now we're at 3.3% year over year. So we're essentially right where we were in June of last year. For the past year, the trend line is pretty flat here. I understand markets are excited. They want to be excited about things. But overall, I don't think inflation is letting up here. I don't think the report today that came out suggests that we're really in a much better place when it comes to inflation than we were a year ago.
From where you're coming from, are we seeing any relief for the consumer?
Not a lot. You know, there's certain areas, certain sectors where we have seen relief, things like transportation costs, fuel costs, and so forth. But one of the real problems here is housing markets, and there we've gotten no relief. And because that's just so critical to so many American families who are trying to make ends meet and trying to stay afloat in a tough economy, when you see housing costs refuse to budge, that is very, very concerning. Obviously, the cost of buying a home right now is extraordinarily high. The borrowing cost, just the price of housing in general, rental costs, everything suggests to me that this is a long-term problem that does not have an immediate solution. Wage growth needs to increase. And I think that's an area where Congress and the president could actually work together to drive wages up, even if they're not doing a whole lot when it comes to driving prices down.
It's a cycle, right, within the economy. If we raise wages, that's going to have ripple effects as well, some positive, some negative. So, I mean, would that not contribute to inflation?
Yeah, I mean, stronger wages could contribute to inflation, which is why, you don't want to inject a fiscal stimulus into the economy. But you do want people, particularly lower middle income class people, to have more money in their pockets. We're starting to see consumer demand trickle, if not be reduced a little bit. And that could have a positive impact on inflation. But of course, it means people are poor. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have money to go out there and spend. So I think that's why you want to be very careful when it comes to fiscal stimulus. You want to, instead of trying to inject more money into the economy, which can, of course, drive up inflation, what you want to do is increase supply and work out some of the kinks that we've seen in supply chains. Supply chains have improved considerably since the days of the pandemic, but then we've seen disruptions in places like the Suez Canal, the Baltimore Harbor, and elsewhere. And once those supply chain problems start to manifest themselves, and once we start to see a reduction in supply of housing and other goods and services and so forth, that's when prices can start to rise and people don't have that wage growth to offset those higher costs.
So there's an argument floating around here talking about corporate greed is what contributing to inflation. Give us your thought. Is it true or not?
The data says it's not. If you look at San Francisco Fed, they released a report just a couple weeks ago that said profit margins today are essentially unchanged from where profit margins were before the economy, before the pandemic. So corporations are not raising prices. Margins remain where they were. It's really difficult in a very competitive marketplace like we have in the United States to start to raise prices because guess what? Your competitors are going to swoop in with lower prices and steal your business away from you. So it's not corporations that are driving this. It's bad public policy. It's supply chains. It's broad global occurrences that are taking place right now. These are things that I think Congress and the president can do a lot to fix, though there's no silver bullet here. There's no magical way to fix this inflation. We do see inflation high in other countries, but most areas of the world actually have slightly lower inflation than what we're dealing with here in the United States.
All right, Brandon, appreciate your comments today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.